Bang! Bang! Welcome to it, everybody. This is episode 75 of the Weekly Wave. Ain't it beautiful? It's been a crazy week. We just got back off the road from Maumee, Ohio, Cleveland, the northern area, and it kicked some serious ass. Shout out to Kevin McClellan for coming from Nashville to join us. Shout out to Nick Hack for providing his truck for us to drive in this week. It was pure luxury. And to my man Jordan for always taking care of us. It was good, everybody. If you came out to the shows, you have my love. I told you that there, but sincerely, it makes all the difference. Is the reason we do this, so thank you. It is going to be a great episode because I got my man Jake Richter on the show. Jake is a beautiful sound technician, producer, engineer. He does all the things. He is also the one who took care of the mixing and mastering on our latest live album, The Big Crash, coming out on July 15th on all streaming platforms. So we talk about a lot of things from gigging to general on-the-job advice and just caught up with my man. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. Jake Richter, everybody. Hallelujah! Holy shit! Jake's finally here. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. Just came to check out your space. It looks good.
It's been a brutal 45 minutes of extreme knowledge, as always. I feel like the only thing I do is ask you highly technical questions. Then you explain it. I catch about 30%, and then we move forward as friends.
I just lecture you. That's all I do, Matt.
It's not that you lecture. It's that you try to get to a jargon that's graspable. And obviously, if I'm using the term graspable, I don't have a great jargon. You know what I mean? Like,
Understood.
English may be my first language, but I speak it like a second.
Understood. Makes sense.
It also makes me think of all these great moments in the group chat where someone sends a panic sound engineer question, and then we all just come in with awful information while you're still typing out something that's like well thought through and very.
Oh God, that's an addiction I have, dude. Like, and it's kind of a weird one. If I so I'm in Facebook groups and everything, and if I see something where I'm like, I could really help, and I'll comment and I'll make a nice, long, well-structured thing. It's kind of like my ego stroking. But usually I go through and see, like, you know, and John's in that chat too, and he'll usually put stuff in there before I do because I don't check it that often.
Yes.
So if someone's already covered it, I'm like, I don't need to worry about it. But if it's
unless you disagree,
yeah, well,
then it's time to
not so much disagree. Like, audio is weird, dude. Like, there's 1,000 ways to skin the cat. So I usually just put in my opinion and then my reasoning behind my opinion. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of guys who do things a lot differently than me, and some guys, you know, have done super big things. So, like, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, they're wrong or right or whatever. They just do it different, right?
Yeah, like a 23-inch sub. Who would have known? Also, exactly. I forgot. If you like headphones, I have the most comfortable headphones possible.
You have the clouds.
Yeah, dude.
That's what I call these. These
things are just so, like, it feels like luxury until there's some particular frequency that if you get something caught in the headphone while it's going on at that frequency, they will buzz eternally.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes.
It's just a resonant. It's like something that's making the internals shake or something.
Yeah, it's something about that just makes it so wrong, and, like, it just doesn't work out for
DT770s. I was trying to remember the model, and now I see it.
So the one time I had that happen, I had to look up you have to get it back at that frequency, then smack the headphones till you get whatever is lodged in them.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So that's that. Yeah, and I was just guessing. Like, I think that sounds like a component being loose in there. So that makes sense. They literally said find it, and then hit
smack
it,
see
around where it's at. Yeah.
And it was like an awesome Reddit comment thread where everyone's going like, "There's no way this works. There's no, oh my god, it works. There's no way this works. Oh my god!" And you just go to this YouTube video and smack your headphones around for a little bit.
See, that makes me nervous. Like, I would like literally, like, I can see the screws, and of course they're not conventional ones because they don't want you to open them up.
Exactly.
But, I would try to get these open and, like, see what is the loose thing in there.
Yeah.
But you know, then I'd break them doing something, I'm sure. Like,
that being said, I do love those headphones. They're super comfy for tracking. I can spend 6 hours in them and not feel like my incoming cauliflower ear is cutting off blood flow.
I'm lazy, man. Like, because I've wanted to move to headphones like these that are nice and cloud. Like, AKG makes a really nice. I can't remember the model, but they're nice and cloud. And
I say the open ear AKGs too.
Yeah, and I say when I say cloud, I'm talking like massively comfortable.
Yes.
But for me, like I'm a little stuck in, I don't want to say my ways, but like in my ear learning. So like, if I try a new pair of headphones, that's kind of a big deal for me because I've been used to mixing, and I try to avoid mixing on headphones most of the time just because I like having, I don't know how to exactly describe it, but the speakers in front feel a little bit more, I don't want to say realistic, but a little bit more accurate and easy to listen to. Whereas headphones, I feel like I have a little man inside my head singing, like the band's all in my little head here.
Yes.
Whereas like if I have speakers in front of me, like it's pretty easy to be like, here's what it is, and here it's coming out in air, like it's breathing. So, and that's not to say headphones are bad. It's just when I try new headphones, I feel like I have to learn those headphones, right? Like I have to learn how they sound, learn how they translate, and all that stuff. And that's a process for me, man. So I have stuck with Sennheiser 280 Pros for a long time, and like 2 years ago, I made the switch to Audio-Technica ATH 50Xs, only because they have fancier like detachable cables, and like you can go from straight to coil. And that's great for, like, because I do stuff in studios and live sound. And for the studio stuff, the coil cable is great because if you're going around, like, messing with analog gear or anything, or, like, you're moving around the studio, that coil kind of prevents you from yanking, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just, like, hanging there, and then as you move away, it just kind of raises up, and then you have a good sense of how much tension is there. But in live sound, that coil is like a huge pain in the ass. So like
a detriment to your gig.
Yeah, because like literally, I just want to plug it in the console that's right in front of me, and then that's all I just want it to be there, and the coil goes like down to the ground, and then so I just like it to be a nice short stick into the console that's right in front of me, and then do if I have to check something, I can just quickly grab them. Know? So
is that really just for when if you're working monitors per se, and you want to go in and check out a guy's in-ear mix, so you're queuing in, making adjustments, queuing out?
Well, so monitors is a whole different game. I'm going to move this up. Monitors is a little bit of a whole different game. So,
and just for the listeners' sake, can you tell them everything that you kind of do, like as a broad span of your jobs?
Everything I do for work.
Yes. So, songwriter, producer, engineer.
Well, there's a long list of things I do. There's a shorter list of things I do well. So like
very humble.
Like
well said.
I play instruments and stuff. I would never go to anyone and say I'm a guitar player, or say I'm a bass player, or say I'm a drummer. You know what I mean? I would never go to anyone and say that's what I do. Now, do I do that for clients on songs I'm working on with them? Yeah. I play a lot of guitars, especially guitar, like rhythm parts and layering and that kind of thing. I do a lot of that for people, but I would never like be like, hey, put me on your gig, and then hey, pay, because when people are paying me to do that, they're not paying me to do that. They're paying me to help like structure their song and add layers to it, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, like most of the time, if I come up with an idea, like there's times where I'm like, let's do that. I can't play that though. So I'll like hire someone else who can, or I'll just like see if there's someone more qualified to play that part there. There's even been times where I'll like text someone and be like, hey, can you like cover this? Like I'm trying to do like this arpeggio that's really fast, and like I can't perform it. And then I'll send them the track. They'll quickly remote it and send it back, stuff like that. So recording is something I do. Producing ish, again, that's kind of lower on the totem scale. Like if we're looking at it from what pays my rent, live events is like my that's my
bread
wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And that's concerts, that's complicated corporate AV stuff.
Is that your new full time?
Yes.
Congratulations, brother.
Yeah. So it makes me cringe whenever I hear it. So like
eat shit. I don't care.
Yeah. So like no, I don't mean the congratulate. I'm saying the word full time makes me cringe. So like
it's okay. It comes with benefits. I hope
yeah. So here's the thing for anyone watching. If anyone has ever talked to me ever, the first thing that you kind of might pick up on me is that I love the freelance lifestyle. I love working for yourself. I love all this stuff. And so like in the past, was it 5? I went back and looked through like my records on job applications, and I have been offered I can't remember if it's 5 or 6 full-time positions, and I've turned them all down because nothing would really justify me jumping out freelance. Because with freelance, I was able to take now it's not paid time off, but I was able to take off work whenever I wanted to. I didn't have a boss to report to. It was nice. Now I'm still reporting to clients. It's not like I can do whatever I want and make money. It's not quite like that, but it is a little bit less micromanagey and stuff. Yeah. So I have finally found a gig that was worth it to give up that flexibility. And I'll talk a little bit about that. I don't want to get too deep into career stuff, but a lot of these jobs that people offer or get or anything, I'll put it this way, employers care about one of two things, a position or a person. So with this most recent company, which is Mills James, they have a history of being employee owned. They're not employee owned anymore, but they are very much caring about the people that work the positions. Whereas if you go somewhere like Lowe's, I say Lowe's is because during the pandemic I worked there for I want to say a month and then quit super fast. And I was just fuck this. I'm going to go to freelance and just do video work, and that worked out fine for me.
To be honest with you, there's no job that seems worse fitting for you than to work at Lowe's. Well, I love the idea of walking down an aisle and here's Jake if you ask me about these screws that I'm putting back in this bin right now, I'm going to kick your ass. You want to know about something else? Let's talk.
Dude, the funny thing about Lowe's, I went in there and I'm like, hey, I know a fair amount about electronics. I know an odd amount, don't ask me why, about appliances, kitchen appliances and microwaves and refrigerators and deep freezers. I know a fair amount about that stuff. I'm not an expert, but I know enough to talk to someone to help them figure out what they need.
Yes.
And they're like, cool, great, you're going to go sell lawnmowers. I'm like, I don't know anything about lawnmowers.
Fantastic.
And lawn care equipment. I'd have people come in can I get a trimmer? I'm like, I don't know what that is. And they really mean a edger or something. I all that stuff is just foreign language to me. And then I have people come in and can I get a lawnmower? And I'm like, okay. And then we have a little script that we get. I say we, I don't work there anymore, but there's a little script that you get, and it's how big is your lawn? Okay, you want a riding mower. But then the script never worked because the people would disagree with you, and me not being knowledgeable, I have no reason to disagree with them because they probably know better than I do.
Absolutely. Because you want a push mower for your 45-degree lawn? I don't give a shit.
Yeah. You buy whatever you want. And so now that's not to say Lowe's is a bad company, but that's a company that focuses more on getting positions filled. Because I came in there, I told them what my thing would be, I told them my experience, and they were like, okay, but we have this position that needs covered, so you're going to go there, right? Whereas with Mills James, in the cool thing is it's just how open and honest you can be with them. So I don't want to get, I don't know.
Oh, brother, please go into, because it's important for people to hear what kind of difference you can find, not between just career paths, but in terms of fulfillment in your work. To specialize and to do that well means a lot.
Oh, that's a whole other thing too, man.
Take the tangent.
When I'll come back to it. But with Mills James, in the interview process, and the funny thing is I've been freelancing for these guys for, what year is it, 2020? I've been freelancing for these guys for 5 years at this point. So they all know me pretty well. I know them pretty well. And they know my goals and aspirations as well. They know some stuff. And then they know some stuff about me. And so when I went to the interview, I was pretty clear with them. I was because just so you know, my opinion on a full-time job, it has to, most importantly, it needs to pay you enough, okay? And that's hard to find in audio-visual industry in general for a full-time gig. Mm-hmm. You're usually 99% of the time much better off paying freelance as far as being compensated. And then on top of that, there needs to be good work-life balance, right? You need to be able to hang out with your family for Christmas and all that. This place has paid holidays, so that's great. And that's not common for audio-visual stuff because usually you're working events that happen on weekends. This office doesn't really do that. So work-life balance, and the biggest thing that not enough people talk about is growth, right? You need to take on a job that's going to challenge you and make you learn more things. So like you obviously know, and like a lot of people online who might watch, they know that audio, music, like that's
audio.
That's my that's my main hashtag. And I usually do video work, but I don't really talk about it that much. That's not my brand, so to speak. But I do have a fair amount of a background in it, and I teach it at UC. I teach a course called Integrated Media Production, which goes over the basic concepts of video production, photography and audio. It's just like an entry to all types of media. So when they offered me this job, I was like, this gives me like an amazing opportunity to really get into live video, get into cameras, get into production advancing, get into all the kinds of stuff that I can learn and get much better at. So this job allows me to grow in my knowledge. It compensates me well, good work-life balance. This is all stuff that a lot of people would think is basic, but if you're working full-time outside the audiovisual industry, like a lot of stuff is a given. Audiovisual industry, like it's a job that a lot of people want to do, so it's easy to find people to do it for cheap, So that's a big deal to me, is having all those factors. And during the interview, I did tell them, like, if there ever comes a point where I'm not growing or I'm like stuck in a position, or if I'm doing something I don't want to do and I'm not moving anywhere, if I get another offer from another company, I'm going to take it. And usually that's a pretty like rub the wrong way thing to say at an interview, but I figure if I can't be honest with them, then what's the point? And the first thing the guy who was interviewing me said, like, "Oh no, we totally get that." I was like, see, in my mind, that shifts the focus from we just need this position filled to, we trust this guy, we want him to grow, we want him to do better things.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Because a lot of companies, man, like when you get hired, upper level, whatever, management, whoever, they only care, like, is that position filled? Cool. Hey, they want to advance. Like, do we have open slots up front? Like, nope. We need you there because you're good at that. It's like, well, that's pretty limiting. I want to do better at things. I want to learn more things. So it's cool. And this place is very, very good in the sense that they understand that people need to grow and people need to do stuff. So that's my whole tangent on why I typically avoid full-time jobs. Yeah. Also, full-time jobs are very limiting. And the other thing about them is that they don't have a non-compete. They have a non-solicitation, but they don't have a non-compete. Basically, so I can still run simple sound rentals. I can still freelance for concerts, and I'm not breaking any rules or anything. Yeah. This is great.
Well, it's important for people to understand, like, what a non-compete does. Like, in the sales world, I get it. You don't want someone to go from selling your printers to selling their printers and take your client list. But in this world of gig economy, it's pretty much coming down to how much work is in the field and who is not only capable, but like more than qualified to take on those jobs. And that's why you find so many people running sound on the square, and they're overqualified for just that job.
Yeah,
not to say that's a bad example, but it's like, here's one of our nicer stages.
Turn this off.
Yeah, please. Here's one of our nicer stages being manned by a guy that if he was allowed to do this, a guy or a girl, obviously that doesn't matter, but someone who's more than capable of taking this to the next level, and then you inhibit them from doing so. It's like, don't shoot yourself in the foot here by saying what the job is to be done. Yeah. Is the personnel capable of doing so?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes a lot of, like, you gotta be able to, like, people have to be able to grow and companies have to be able to do their thing. I get that positions have to be filled. Don't get me wrong there. But people have to grow, and you have to have kind of a fluctuation too. Because here's the other thing too, is like companies are always pyramids. Okay? There is less jobs at the top and there's more jobs at the bottom. Always that way. There's just no way to make it work. There's not enough work usually for 5 CEOs. There's just enough work for one, right? So as far as upward integration into a company, that might not always be available. It's more so that I think it's important that companies understand that you might make a vertical move to a different company that might have more room up at the top of that pyramid, right?
Yeah.
And that's hard to find, because like even at Mills James, they did say, like, we have upper level positions, but they're kind of limited because there's 12 of people in job position X, and then there's 6 positions in job position Y. Well, obviously, not all 12 of those guys are going to rise up to Y, right? Because there's only so many positions, and then so forth. So there is mutual understanding there that needs to be had, I think. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, like, you need to make sure that people can grow.
Yeah. Well, that clear bottleneck is something that, like, everyone likes to believe that if they stay at a job long enough, they're going to have the opportunity to go up. And that's kind of eerie. It's a reminder that...
It's terrifying.
And small business is the only way of getting around that. Mm-hmm. But there's economies of scale that fall off in small business where there's a market growth point that you can't exceed if other players have more of that manpower. And it's just it's odd to watch us run into that and not be able to address it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, as two guys trying to run their own companies straight up. It's like, you don't go straight up.
Yeah.
You know, you're a day at a time, and hopefully you can do this. But sometimes you'll level off, and you got to deal with those plateaus as well.
And sometimes you will shoot up.
Yeah. And those are fun moments. But hold on, because if you overly scale yourself, that's why so many bands fall apart. Like, maybe that's the one-hit wonder, kiss of death that comes along with you reach this part on the charts. You hire onto a team that you can't sustain unless there's another hit.
You can't capitalize on. You can't make the max bang for buck when that opportunity comes up. You got to be ready for that opportunity.
Yeah, and then you owe a label a fat sum of money for a sign on. It's like we're finally at this point where the internet helps us have that understanding and share the spreadsheets and talk enough shit.
Oh yeah,
to get there at the end of the day. And I think what makes you an expert in that is being a man who wants to wear every hat that you can, being obsessed with the utility side of it, where the ship won't crash if I'm on the ship because we're going this way. You know?
I get that. Like, I had a whole thing come up with simple sound rentals. That's my, like, we literally do simple sound rentals. We don't do line arrays. We literally have a whole bunch of QSC and EV powered boxes that we rent out for weddings, bands, corporate events, ribbon cuttings. There's a client that, if he's watching, that John got us called OTR Film Festival. Mm-hmm. Like, just literally the most random of simple things, simple sound rentals. And I was reached out to with a contract for, I'm not going to say it because I can't think of whether allowed I'm not allowed to say what company it is. And I don't want to get into the whole thing. But
don't make me edit this. Please don't make me edit this.
But basically, it would have been to facilitate all their corporate meetings, okay? And I was, like, really considering it. But here's the thing. Like, my company, we're not ready to grow that much. Mm-hmm. Like, if I took that on, it would be bumpy roads. Events would not be well executed. And it just wouldn't work out well. It would look bad for me. And I had reached out to don't get me wrong, I tried to make it work. I was like, if I buy $20,000 worth more speakers to have the equipment to follow it, great. Here's the thing though, like, ever since the pandemic, sound engineers, I hate that word, sound technicians, engineers rubs me the wrong way. So sound people in Cincinnati, there's a shortage, man. Like, it's bad. So whereas during the pandemic, the people who, like, stuck in the industry, I had a call list of like 20 people I could reliably go on.
You mean before?
No, I mean, like, during the pandemic. Because, like, so before the pandemic, because Simple Sound Rentals wasn't started until 2020. Like, we started amid the pandemic, right? So I didn't have a call list before the pandemic. When we started, though, everything in town was pretty well staffed. And then during the pandemic, the people who all lost their jobs and stuck with the industry, I had their numbers. But now that we're back to normal, I realized that a ton of people have left the industry because it was considered a non-essential job. So they were like, screw this, I'm going to go work somewhere where I'm definitely going to be essential when this happens. Mm-hmm. Well, now those guys who had all their gigs staffed up, they are able to take that freelance list that I had. Like, 8th Day, when tours kind of shut down, 8th Day needed their crew back. And I get that because that's great opportunities for people. Mm-hmm. So, like, one of the main guys I used for a while was Justin Krim. Paula Herendez was another person that I used a lot. Well, touring's back up, right? And these companies need staff for that. So, like, those are two heavy hitters that I use all the time. Justin's on tour. I can't remember which tour he just did. It's some big heavy rock group, and he's on tour doing that. He's not going to want to go do sound for ribbon cutting ceremony.
Yeah.
So it's
absolutely.
Like, so like during the pandemic, I had a nice call list, and I'm thinking like, yeah, I got plenty of staff. Then, like, touring went back up and companies started having events again and people started having more consistent work. Because to be clear, like I don't have enough work to employ anyone yet. Like I don't have enough work to sustain someone's livelihood. So I just contract everything out. So then once that all kind of happened and the world came back to semi-normal, people, I lost a lot of my workers because we're so short-staffed. And now like literally that text that went off.
Yeah.
I'll read it to you. It says, "So my audio guy canceled on me today. Can you send me Antonio's cell phone number?" Okay, that's literally. I don't know if there's a way for me to show it, but that's literally what it says.
Screenshot it. I'll send it off.
So and that's just how short-staffed it is all the time because people are like taking gigs and there's some people like I'm always been anti bridge burning, but there are some guys who are like getting such good opportunities to go on tours. They're like, look, I'm giving you 2 days notice and I'm out, right? Because this is an opportunity for me that I have to take.
Yeah.
And that's just how short-staffed everything is right now. Mm-hmm. So I can get all the gear in the world. I can drop $20K on a whole bunch of speakers to facilitate whatever they need. I don't have the guys. I really don't. And that's not me saying like this whole crazy thing that a lot of people are saying like no one wants to work. It's just that there's not a lot of people who want to stay in the field when it can just like shut down, right? Like it can just be like, oh, we can't have concerts anymore. Okay, well, what am I going to do for money? So it's rough. But
at least you have the eye for quality to say, I'm not going to go into a place where I feel like Simple Sounds is taking a hit that's the public's not going to respond well to.
Exactly.
It's not worth it.
If I signed on with this company, and then the other guys in town, Prestige, Mills James, ITA, all these other companies that do that kind of corporate work, they would hear about it. You know what I mean? Because if my company were to fail, what are they going to do? They're going to go to these other companies, and then they're going to the client's going to complain, and be like, "Yeah, we just had a vendor before and we didn't work out," and then that company talks and everyone talks, and then guess what? Simple Sound Rentals is the shitty sound company in town. So it's like, you don't want to grow too fast and take on things you can't handle. It would have been an amazing opportunity, but I just know that like I have a hard time staffing things like as it is right now. And it's a good thing is that it's basically people are getting more opportunities. Like John's new opportunity with Blue Water Kings or International, I don't know the whole company, the whole company name. Like John was like, anytime I had a gig come up and I couldn't do it, the first person I would call is John. Mm-hmm. Now, if anything comes up on a Saturday, on a Friday or a Sunday, I'm like, John has a 99% chance of being booked already. Yes. So it's and I use him for the weekday stuff all day, but like,
and as his friend though, it's like, okay, I know not to even bog down his phone with
exactly.
that.
Well, he's getting hit up anyways.
Dude, I don't get his damn response emails every time I message the dude. I'm like, I know he's busy. He will answer. Please exclude me from this. It's busy wedding season. I'm like, eat shit.
He needs that on there though, because he gets blasted, dude. Like I remember one time I was over at his house and hanging out with
my man Shuggy.
Yeah, and it's just like every I think, and this is like when he first got the gig and he was still in that house that he was in before. Mm-hmm. But like every few minutes it was almost like email. Now he keeps his phone. I think he keeps his phone mostly on like silent or stuff. Because we went over to Miles' birthday party recently, and it wasn't going off like that. But like when
but it's madness. I mean, when he's drinking scotch, I'm sure it's his phone off. Like don't let him send an email.
He
back.
goes like that. Yes. He just turns it around. He's like, nah.
But you mentioned these things about like there's better opportunities for a lot of people in our world, especially the ones that were resilient enough to stay in and are still here, knowing that maybe economically we're not looking at an easy future for any of us in a business that is a luxury in a lot of respects.
Yes.
But when it comes to like even bandmates, when you're talking about subbing out drummers and bass players on gigs, we all take this risk of quality that is somewhat ignored in times of strife and difficulty. It's like, if we are going to be in a business that is for the enjoyment and for the quality that we expect of ourselves, you kind of got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Don't go blind into this gig without having the adequate preparation to get through it in a way that you're proud of. And as much as we all want to bite our tongue and make the buck right now,
Yeah.
you can't do it if you want to come back, full tilt.
That's the big thing. You got to be able to come back. I had someone reach out to me for contracting work, and I don't want to come off as too pompous, but I'm usually really skeptical of hiring a new contractor that I haven't worked with before. And I get that I have to grow the staff, but I usually go by recommendations. Like, for instance, like if John's like, this guy's good, he does things. Or if someone else is like, this guy's good, he does things. You know what I mean? Like, if I can, because if it's someone putting their reputation on the line, I can say, okay, I can trust this person. Now, at UC, I have a nice opportunity to kind of like see what students know and which ones like are gifted and all that stuff when it comes to this stuff, and I can reach out to them. Every once in a while, I get cold emails, like people I don't know, nothing like that, and I have to kind of go based off a resume, which like, especially in audiovisual, you gotta be careful of how much you can trust that resume.
Yeah,
right? Because like just because you see the word, video editor, it's like, okay, it's like, were you editing narratives or were you putting like lower thirds on people's names for a church service? You know what I mean? Like, because I did that. Like, that's not anything to really write home about. So like, you kind of have to play that game of like, you kind of got to balance, because sometimes, like you mentioned, like some people, like you really got to make sure to check yourself. Some people, when they're fresh out and they're trying to get any gig they can, they don't really do that all the time. They just want to jump in. So I kind of have to play this game of like, where are you at really? And as much as it would be awesome just to be like, let's have an interview. Here's a sound console. Show me you can do this, this, and this. Logistically, that's kind of hard to set up every once in a while, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, to take the time to do that, especially when it's not part of the paid time,
Yeah.
Like, there's a really weird game to play when I'm trying to get a new guy in for rehearsal.
Yeah.
It's like, this way I can pay for rehearsal, to be totally honest, because it comes out of my pocket. And I don't like putting my cash assets towards prepping new people that I don't know how much work I'm going to give them to.
So you try to stay within your network as much as you can, and you try to stay within your trusted network. Like, for instance, like, let's say you had a gig and one of your guys bailed out. If that guy recommended someone, at least from your team, I think you could trust most of what they say. Like, if so-and-so was like, let's say Nick had to bail out on drums or something, and he's like, look, man, I gotta go. This emergency happened. I talked to so-and-so. I gave him all the information. I gave him the BPMs, your backing tracks and everything. He's taking a look at it, and he should be ready for the gig on Friday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could probably say, I'm a little sketched out. I want to talk to him, but I will take, your word for it a bit. Right?
Yeah, that recommendation carries merit, especially from the person that would be doing the job to the person that... And there's something to be considered in that. But you were kind of mentioning, too, like, people will bite off more than they can chew very often. And
I think
there's a willingness to do that that's great as well.
Well, there's a willingness to do that, but I should be clear. The people who do that are generally new to the workforce, like new to that industry. So like, and there's a reason, like you should move upward, but you should have a good idea of what's going to be too much. Mm-hmm. I feel like if you're newer to the industry, you don't really have a gauge on that yet.
Oh yeah.
So like, like one thing I remember, there's a guy who's like one of the most influential people in my career was Nicholas Redina, and he's like top-notch sound engineer. I think he's probably the best guy in Cincinnati. Like, he is the guy. He's really good, and he's got all kinds of merit behind him and everything. And when I had first met him, when I was working for Cincinnati Parks, I knew right away, like, this is the guy I want to learn things from. This is the guy I want to talk to. This is the guy I want to hang out with. And he's also just like a genuinely nice dude. He's a really, really great musician as well. Like, he's got so much stuff that's going for him. So I really value his opinion. So when I was looking around and I was under the idea that I really wanted a full-time job, like right out of college, which, it's kind of ironic I'm saying I didn't want that, and I'm happy I didn't want that because now I just took one. But you get what I'm saying. I showed my resume to Nick, and Nick like put me in check. He was like, "You have on here that you can do this. I can tell you right now you can't do that." You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, I needed to hear that, right? Because I thought for sure that like, oh, I can handle that. It's just this, and this, right? And then he was going through and showing me like, you have on here you can do this, but you can't do this. Like you probably don't, you think you know you can do it, but you probably don't know you can do it, right? So it's really good to, if you have, like, let's say you're moving into the industry, if you have anyone you can like double check stuff with like that, you should, right? Because like, for instance, when I had on there, I think I had on my resume that I had worked with national artists, which I had worked with national artists at that particular venue, and I was working with them as a front of house guy, not having to do much. But he's like, look, you have this on here because you've done this here. But here's the thing. You don't know anything about flying line arrays. You don't know anything about trussing. You don't know anything about aligning and pointing and aiming and tuning line arrays. You don't know anything about this. You don't know anything about this. I'm like, you're right. Like, just because I did it in this one particular situation doesn't mean I can do it, right? So, like, it's very good to have that reality check. And that's why I think that's most common with newer people. If you have someone that's more experienced and has done a lot of stuff at a lot of different venues, they're going to be much less like that's much less likely to be someone who is biting off more than they can chew. I don't think people are doing it intentionally, like, oh, I'm trying to sneak in and get this high-level job right away. I think it's more of a lack of understanding of what is involved in the job.
Yeah, I think people you're trying to take a step into the kind of work that you want to do without knowing what the prerequisites really are.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find a mentor in a gig economy field because most of the time you're
the
manager.
guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you're coming into this world, to expose yourself to a veteran that's willing to tell you those things.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's a 1 in a million chance too.
Yeah.
You know, because most of these guys don't have time. They are fielding the work that they're capable of, and that's enough to fill their schedule. And there's no paid time off. So why am I having lunch with you talking shit about your resume?
Exactly.
Because one day you'll be on my call list as someone that can do this job when I can't.
And that's what happened. Like, and that's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because Radina did call me up to cover a church gig at some point. And now I've been working at that church for 5 years.
That's
6
incredible.
years or 7 years. I don't know how long I've been there, but I've been working at this church for a long time. And it's all because I was able to kind of, you know, he helped me out. I was able to help him out by covering that gig. Now, I don't know how much, you know, that mattered to him or not, the gig needing to be covered. Because I don't even think it was his gig. I think it was his friend's gig or something. But
still, you were the up and comer on his mind.
Yeah. And I try to do what I can to help him out. He, you know what I mean? Like, I'm such a small pawn compared to him being like a queen on the chessboard. But like, I try to help him out whenever I can. Like, he's got this music series he needed sound for, and you know, it didn't pay enough for me to come out and do it. But since I teach at UC, I was able to like say, hey, when he reached out to me, because he didn't ask me to do it, he just said like, do you know anyone who would do it? And I was like, I have some students, and I sent them his way, and I think he ended up hiring a student, Cameron, who was, you know, who
Cameron that I've met before.
Cameron, I think her last name is Reich.
Okay,
yeah, she does some Blue Water King stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, very talented.
You know, that's the kind of oversight that gives me hope that in Cincinnati, which may be a small pond compared to the major musical metropolises,
getting bigger and bigger, but yeah,
exactly, it's getting bigger and bigger, and that kind of cohesiveness and reality checks and trying to collaborate, but also move the quality marker forward, allows us to have a sustainable, you know, music city that's really going to be here to make an impact.
That's so, and I know that this person doesn't want me to talk about this, so they're going to stay completely anonymous. But like, there was someone who I know that had recently, well, not recently, this was a while ago, they had moved to a big city. And this is someone who was like top notch at what they do, like very best of the best. You're not going to find, like, if you're going to hire someone to do something, he's the guy to hire, and you have no doubt about it, right? They moved, I believe, to Nashville. It might have been, it was one of the big cities, but I believe they moved to Nashville. And this is top-notch guy. And then when they moved to Nashville, still top-notch guy. Usually when you move to Nashville, you're lower on the totem pole.
Kicked real far.
Yeah, but this guy already had connections and everything, and he had a reason to move out there. So he moved to Nashville, had all the connections, top of the totem pole just coming in because he already had the work behind him. He already knew the people and everything. To still make a living and compete with other guys who would do it for cheaper in those big cities, he moved back. He was like, screw this, I can own a house here. You know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty cool. I've always kind of had this in my mind. I don't know how naive it is or not, but in my mind, I've always kind of thought that Cincinnati's a good place to have a sustainable living as a musician. Like
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, there's quirks and problems everywhere, but to have a sustainable living where you don't have to work as like a, some other job while you're doing it, to try to have a home and shelter and food and get all the necessities, as well as save for retirement and have, emergency funds and everything, like to be financially responsible, you can do that here.
Mm-hmm.
You might not be able to do that in a lot of other cities away, even if you have top of the totem pole and you're the best guy for it, right?
And it's amazing to think too. What also comes along with having markets of that size is some of the fickleness. You lose the authenticity of a reasonably sized town where you can have a home, you can know your neighbors, you can see where people grew up. There's something to be had in a place that's not overgrown by people seeking kind of a grass is greener mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I get that, and I should preface this by saying, like, I don't think it's a good idea to move there. I don't really think that. What I'm trying to say is, like, when you have a market and you're not established in it, it's going to take time to break in, and you have to find the gigs that pay enough to justify the living, right?
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of guys who live in those big cities and make a killing living and do a great job, right? But I'm saying that transition is hard, and a lot of people have this grass is greener mentality, like you mentioned. Well, the grass might be greener over here. I mean, you just might not see that.
We got bluegrass, baby.
Yeah,
Comes from Kentucky.
we got bluegrass here. Careful with that. You're gonna have the SWAT team beating down your door. What could bluegrass mean?
It's extremely purple grass.
Yeah.
But it when it comes to living a fulfilling life, you have to have that ambition and contentment, and this happy balance.
You gotta grow. You gotta be compensated.
Yeah,
and
you gotta have enough. At this point in time, like if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, just like Tracy Morgan, but I don't make it.
Oh God!
I don't know why I always bring up Tracy Morgan getting hit by a bus on this show, but I always do.
But here we are.
I know. And here's the caveat: we can't trust Walmart anymore.
Understood. I'm a Target guy and a Kroger guy from here on out.
Oh, he starts with the Target. No wonder he's needing that more money, man. Big ballin'.
I should clarify that Target is a Madison necessity in her life. So therefore, it is a necessity in my life.
Speaking of, my fiance had a deviated septum surgery yesterday.
What? Okay.
So I need to somewhat wrap this up.
Okay.
But I'd like to move this into a portion where I gush over you, Jake, because as a friend, as a coworker, you have been nothing but pleasant. You've answered ridiculous questions. You put up with all my bullshit, and I thank you endlessly for that. In all the dimensions that people could hire you, considering what you have capacity for now, what kind of work are you willing to take on, and where could people reach out to you for that kind of help?
So personally, like, I'm always moving my goalposts, but right now I was just talking to you about this. I'm actually thinking about selling off the studio, not doing recording. I'm more so in the realm of mixing, post-production, live events, whether that's whole entire production or just audio, concerts. I do a lot of mixing for concerts. And I do a bit of recording parts for people. People send me tracks, essentially say, play some guitar in this or enhance it, and when I say enhance it, I'm usually putting in some MIDI instruments and synth parts and that kind of thing. I don't really like to call that producer, because I really just call that like helping out, like just writing extra parts for a song to help fill it out. Like we were just talking about that earlier today.
Yeah.
And so, like, I like doing that too. The best way to reach me, to be honest, is just via email. So, like,
which is Jake Kricket?
Yeah, JAKEKRICKET@gmail.com. That's the one I check for work all the time. Don't do Jacob Richter Official. That's an email, but that's full of
spam.
Signed
up for Target Premium ads.
Target ads. That's all that is. So Jake Kricket is the one that's better. If you want something specifically for rentals, like from Simple Sound Rentals, my company, Jake@SimpleSoundRentals is that email. And that one's like my premier holy shit, check this right now email. Yes. That sends a ding to my phone and everything. But because that's cold clients and everything there. But,
I'm going to start sending a bunch of spam to that
Oh, God,
email.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm going to ruin your life.
But But those three facets, so mixing and post-production, I do record out of my house, but that's not something I really like offer to like everybody. And so like mixing, recording parts for people, and live events. You know, that's my bread and butter.
Well, I couldn't recommend him more. Jake, Kricket, Richter, everybody. Thank you, brother. Love you, man.
Thank you very much.
Oh, we call him Kricket. That's my man, Jake. Brother, thank you so much for coming on. I love you dearly. Make sure you catch all the projects that he's working on throughout the city and your latest releases he might have with artists he's been working with. All the good stuff. I'm hoping to have some live footage to you from this weekend coming up throughout the week, so keep your eyes on the socials. Let's talk about the dates really quick. I'm going to run you down. This is the June tour dates. Okay. We still have one date left. That is going to be June 28th in Nashville, Tennessee, making our debut at the Basement East. This is an amazing venue that's been rebuilt in the city in the last couple years. We'll be playing there for, I think it's like a newcomers night, all original bands, 3 hours of music. So make sure you come on by. My next show at the Little Miami Brewing Company has been canceled because I got to get some engagement photos, so I need to take the night off. I'm sure you understand. For the July dates, let's talk about what we got coming up. The 1st of July, I am at Rotolo, Newport, the bowling alley. It's going to be kick-ass. They got great liquor, great staff, good things. The 2nd of July, we're going to be at Rick's Tavern. That show starts at 8 p.m. We got a whole bunch of the recipe. I'm talking some horns, some auxiliary percussion, all the sexy shit. The Lake Cumberland show that we had for the 4th of July has been canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. No concerns there, but we do hope to be back at some point. Then we got Summerfest in Milwaukee on the 8th. I think that's 2 weeks out now. I am so excited. I've never been to Wisconsin, nor have I ever been to Summerfest, so should be a rad time. My set starts at 4:30, and then on the 9th, we are going to be at the Kansas City Tin Roof starting at 10:30 p.m. The rest of the dates you can get with. The 16th, we're having a release show for the album in Sandown, New Hampshire with some of my favorite people. And then check out the rest of them. I'm going to Hilton Head. We're going to be all over this summer. Check out the website for more tour dates. Let's talk about the in-town stuff. The 29th of this month, we're going to be at Fidelity Investments. We've been doing that throughout the month of June. And this will be our last one for the foreseeable future. I'm trying to talk to them about July. Obviously not a public event, but if you work there and you keep coming to the shows, thank you. We'll be starting at 11:30. That should be a.m., not p.m. Damn it, man. Oh, well. Okay. The 3rd, well, pretty much every Sunday this month, I'm going to be at Fishbowl at the Banks. This next show starts at 8 o'clock. I think we're doing 8 throughout the entire month of July. We shall see. I'll let you know. And then I got 2 Tin Roof dates coming up for you in town, the 13th and the 20th, both at 9 o'clock. That is it for this week's episode of The Wave, episode 75. Thank you for tuning in. I love you. Peace.